for everybody who's joining us today and who are all from the founders all the way through to our service providers and our investors, the one thing everybody tells us about being entrepreneurs and being in this space and driving innovation is having a good story to tell. And we think about the pitches and the stories that we have to tell about our patients. It's really not patients, it's the people behind that moniker of a patient. And for Lazzaro Medical, we actually treat a disease that is often a subset of COPD. It's a disease you probably have never heard of called tracheobronchial malacia. And those patients suffer, and they get bounced around in the medical system, fighting for a disease, fighting for their lives. And in so many ways, it's a disease that rips people away from their ability to breathe, their ability to have a life, and to have quality of life with their family. And I am honored to be joined by one of those patients. Her name is Kathy. Kathy is on my phone right now. Kathy actually had a robotic tracheobronchioplasty that Dr. Richard Lazzaro, our co-founder, actually pioneered. Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me put you on speaker. All right, Kathy, are you ready to share your voice?
I'm ready. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay, I might not be able to go on because I might have tears in my eyes, but I'll call you back. Thank you, sweet lady. Bye.
Bye.
That's Kathy. Kathy is one of those patients. 40 million patients have trouble breathing in the United States alone. COPD, asthma, the cascading issues that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. But about 20% of those patients have the most common disease you will likely never heard of. And that disease is this disease called tracheobronchial malacia. So essentially, when you look at the trachea that I have up behind me, illustrated here, your trachea should be nice and open and round, and that gives us the ability to breathe in and out. It's a fairly rigid structure, has a little bit of flexibility, but as we age, just similar to our knees and our hips, as we get exposed to inflammatory, processes and issues and things like that, our trachea infrastructure can start to break down. When it breaks down, it results into a disease called TBM, and you can see a very flaccid, flattened trachea here, and that is the problem these patients have. But it's a structural issue with their trachea. Drugs don't affect it. If anything, drugs actually make it worse. And basically, you've got about 8 million people alone in the United States that have TBM, with about 4 million of those patients today in the United States, just like Kathy, that need this life-saving, not only procedure, but the device I'm going to tell you all about. And that results in about a $40 billion market opportunity. At Lazzaro Medical, we're not just a kind of single one-player medical device provider and innovator in this space. Not only did we pioneer the minimally invasive robotic tracheobronchioplasty that Kathy was able to benefit from, but we've also designed a scaffold system, a medical device, to really take the innovations in the robotic procedure that Dr. Lazzaro pioneered to be able to give the gift of life back to these patients, but also the medical device that supports it. When Dr. Lazzaro pioneered that minimally invasive surgery very quickly, he took what was opening somebody from stem to stern, cranking open their ribs. How invasive is that to get access to the backside of your trachea? And instead, what he did is he used the Da Vinci robot to really pioneer a whole new procedure and open up the ability for these patients to not only be able to be eligible for a very typically historically invasive procedure, but also then to be able to recover from that procedure. Then what we did is we then went beyond that. We took the opportunity for the patients to be eligible for the procedure, but there was still a limitation. And that limitation was there was not a purpose-built device that the everyday kind of workhorse thoracic surgeon could use to reconstruct the trachea and still get similar results to what Dr. Lazzaro did by using just generic surgical mesh. So Lazzaro Medical was formed in order to innovate in this specific area. So what we've done is we've actually worked through the design, the development, the testing, the final product development on our FDA scaffold system, our scaffold system, which is currently, of course, the data sets are being built for FDA clearance under a de novo. So it's a class 2 de novo product. From a story standpoint, again, it's all about the story for entrepreneurs in our space. Not only is it a de novo opportunity, we have existing DRG codes, and our seed round, when we did our investment, really was championed by the Mayo Clinic, who's invested in us, Northwell Health, who's invested in us, and a very notable robotics company that I can't share the name publicly on. Path to FDA clearance, again, fairly straightforward, right? We've had several successful pre-submission meetings with the FDA. We've got a very good collaboration with them. We've gotten very good guidance, which has led us to the point of de novo. We've also completed our preclinical studies. We've done both feasibility studies and we've done GLP studies with our current histopathology pending as we speak. That all accumulates over the summertime, and then we will be submitting for our IDE for our upcoming clinical trial towards the end of the calendar year, which will, of course, then lead us to a de novo FDA clearance. So towards the end of the calendar year, we're not raising money right now. We're very well funded as we speak and as I stand here today. We've got about an 18 to 20 month runway. However, we are going to need some additional dollars to fund our pivotal clinical trial. So we will be doing a Series A raise towards the end of the calendar year. And we do expect that our partners, our strategic partners particularly, will be participating in that raise. And we've had very good discussions over the course of LSI with others who would potentially lead. I won't bore you with the clinical data, but what you can see here is just a representation of the data sets that have been established in the current literature that we are basing essentially all of our pivotal trial design off of, and powering the study to be able to really fuel not only our opportunity from a regulatory standpoint to get our clearance, but also to really fuel the commercial opportunities after we get through that clearance and actually get into the market. As you can see here today, over the course of the first 5 years of commercialization, we're talking about $350 million worth of revenue opportunity. And that's been a very ground up build. Again, this is very pragmatic. It's how do we actually achieve this? That's how these revenue numbers are built. However, it doesn't stop there. We talked about the scaffold system. As entrepreneurs, we've got to be very diligently, kind of myopically focused on the first product that's going to drive the revenue for the organization. But we also have a pipeline of opportunity and products that we filed IP against. We've got training, as you can see here, with our MITRE Training Academy, as well as future opportunities with our diagnostic scope and some endotracheal tube advancements. From an experience in our team, you can see here that we've really worked hard to bring the team and surround us with the leading experts. Not only do we have Dr. Richard Lazzaro, the namesake of the organization, the pioneer of the procedure here, but really an entire talent, both of years of medical device experience, entrepreneurship, and a supporting infrastructure from our folks, including Christy Foreman, who was a 22-year FDA veteran, all the way through to Janice Hogan of Hogan & Lovells, a very, again, leading law firm for us, as well as that kind of business infrastructure and regulatory and manufacturing infrastructure we put into place. We also have the leading experts in interventional pulmonology and thoracic surgery who make up our Lazzaro Medical Advisory Board. From a funding standpoint, just to give you a bit of a flavor, we're looking at about a $20 million raise that's going to support that pivotal clinical trial, and we expect to launch that series, call it A raise, after we get through our next pre-submission meeting with the FDA around the April-May timeframe. We'll look to close that raise out after we get IDE approval towards the end of the calendar year. So in summary, from a company standpoint, I told you the story about Kathy. We have tremendous advantages that have been continued to be de-risked as an investment, and ways that we have continued to bolster this company in the ability to be a very instrumental, innovative company in the future. And just to give you a face with a name, this is Kathy. This is our lady on the phone. So Kathy spent 2 years on a mechanical ventilator. She was dependent. She was being bounced between the healthcare system, having tremendous amounts of expense, and here she is and was today. So it might have been a little hard to hear, but she screamed at the top of her lungs on the Jersey Shore 2 weeks after she actually had the procedure, not with our device, but very analogous results that we expect. And she said, how was that for lungs? How was that for airflow? But you heard her sing live here today. Thank you very much.